my note cards. Today we have with us Karen, Bob, Dan, Kristen, Madison, Sonia, and Patrick. Good afternoon. My name is Brooke Manning. Thank you all for being here today. We'd like to provide you a little bit of information about stem cell research through informative speech. What if I told you that we had the ability to help someone walk again, or being able to fully recover from a deadly disease? Now I know, it sounds like a miracle, but it's achievable through a process known as stem cell research. First, I would like to share a story with you about a 16-year-old girl by the name of Laura Dominguez. Laura was involved in a car crash that left her numbness from the neck down. The doctors have informed her that she would never be able to walk again. To quote Laura in an article about adult stem cell success stories, she states, "I refused to accept a prognosis that I would never walk again, and began searching for other options. After an extensive amount of research, she had stumbled upon an alternative, a new surgical procedure with the involvement of adult stem cells. Just within 6 months of the surgery, she had regained sensation to her abdominal area. It is evident that her story provides hope for individuals who are told that there is no cure. The main takeaway from this story is that there's always an alternative." First, I will present what stem cells are. Secondly, I will describe the two different types of stem cells, embryonic and adult. Thirdly, I will address what they are specifically used for. Additionally, I will explain why embryonic stem cells are considered to be controversial to our society and why they are illegal for use. I will also discuss how stem cells can prevent animal experimentations. And finally, I will describe an alternative method to embryonic stem cells, which is a process known as direct reprogramming. So what are stem cells? Stem cells have the exceptional capability of developing into a variety of specialized cell types found throughout the body. Now the illustration to the right of the screen is the hierarchy of stem cells. Totipotent cells have the ability to change into any kind of cell. Pluripotent can differentiate into most kinds of cells. Multipotent can transform into multiple types, but are restricted to a certain lineage, such as muscles, bone, nerves, and other tissues. Now that we know what stem cells are, let's take a closer look at the different types of stem cells. One of the types of stem cells is known as embryonic. There are pluripotent stem cells that are obtained from human embryos that are typically acquired from in vitro fertilization clinics. Now, what is in vitro fertilization? It's a process of fertilization that manually unites the egg and the sperm in a petri dish. The other type of stem cells is known as adult. There are multipotent stem cells that can be acquired throughout the body, such as organs or other tissues. Yet they have certain restrictions, such as a specific lineage, they're smaller in numbers, and more difficult to isolate. Keeping these in mind, I would like to discuss what they can specifically be used for. Now, due to stem cells' exceptional capability, they can be used to serve as an internal repair system, replenishing those that are damaged. Therefore, they can be useful for treating and understanding diseases and injuries without known cures. Additionally, they can test the effectiveness of new drugs, which will be discussed in later slides. After listening to what stem cells have the potential to do, let's review what the issue specifically is about embryonic stem cells. One of the biggest reasons as to why embryonic stem cells are controversial is due to the fact that they are destroyed after being harvested. This means that the fetus is no longer alive. A PubMed scientific journal best describes this issue. The essential problem here is to decide at what stage of development a human embryo acquires the interests and the rights to protect these interests that characterize a human being. When does an embryo become a part of humanity? Now let's discuss why they are illegal for treatments in some states. As seen in this illustration, yellow states are for embryonic stem cell research, while the dark blue are against. The green and the light blue are those that fall somewhere in between, and the gray are undecided. Now looking at the data, we can see most are against, and their laws can be viewed on a website. That website is known as National Conference of State Legislators, and it shares the following information that prohibit embryonic stem cell research: Florida, Indiana, Kentucky, North Dakota, South Dakota, Ohio, and Oklahoma. There are also regulations made, such as the ban in 2001 by President Bush against the federal funding for stem cell research. Yet in 2009, President Obama lifted this ban with strict guidelines to follow, of course. So let's look at how stem cells can prevent animal experimentations. In addition to embryonic stem cells being used to find treatments for diseases, they also can be used to prevent animal experimentations. Now, animal testing is usually affiliated with the experimenting of the safeness of a new drug, or finding a cure for human illnesses. Yet stem cell research would be a better substitute for the experiments, as we would be using human cells instead of animal cells. By testing human cells, drugs and cures would be more effective because of the biological differences. Finally, my last point further addresses an alternative method to embryonic stem cells. This process is known as direct reprogramming. An article by T.S.R. Roman on the topic of direct reprogramming describes human-induced pluripotent stem cells can be taken from the adult tissue and reprogrammed into embryonic stem cell-like cells. The main goal is to eventually be able to take any cell that's within the adult body and reprogram it without the use of induced pluripotent stem cells. Now that we know what stem cells are, the different types, where they come from, how they're used, the issue, and some solutions, I hope that I have provided you enough information today to understand what stem cell research is. Thank you.